I think B2B marketers who are trying to make a case for metadata right now are under potentially much more scrutiny than you all may have been when you bought metadata. So, how did you make your case internally, and maybe what advice would you give anyone who's trying to make that case internally for metadata right now? Maybe we'll start with you, Andrew.
Yeah. I mean, we went through this fairly recently. It's probably this case for most people. We had a pretty healthy paid social budget. I would say much larger than most companies our size. So we knew it was going to come down. So we did have to renew at a much lower tier, but it was the stickiest thing and really the case, because even though I'm not the decision maker, aka my boss and CMO, they know how crucial metadata is to how we operate paid social, and it's become such a critical part of our holistic demand gen strategy, both from a demand create with video, but also we are able to attribute influence and triggered opportunities, which is huge now. So I could show that, because that was the initial reason why we did go with metadata, is we're going to be able to show this. And I know other platforms can do that too, but I would say the revenue part is it's part of it, but I would say the primary reason is Crystal and we literally would lose, I would say at least 10 hours a week. And how what we're doing right now, we do so much on paid social. There'd be so much more manual work and the setup process in LinkedIn and Facebook. It would literally be a fourth of our work week. I don't think that's an exaggeration. So that was so crucial. I was we have to do this. I don't care if it comes out of our paid social budget. That's how crucial it was for us to continue.
Evan, what about you?
Yeah, everything Andrew's saying is really resonant. And I'll add a few things. I think to the time piece, it's also the budget maximization capability based on MQLs, based on opportunities, is you can't do that manually. And LinkedIn doesn't really want you to. The ad networks have a bias against you performing too well. They ultimately want to make money per lead. I think there's a few things that I want to call out that I've heard over and over again as objections to metadata that I dealt with in my buying processes multiple times, but also just have heard from other buyers. One is the cost, right? It's the percentage of ad spend framework. And I can fully appreciate metadata has to think about how do we actually detect the scale of your advertising budget and match our pricing accordingly, because that directly relates to how much you'll use it, right? And how much support you'll need and all that stuff. Now, I think what people need to remember is if it really can deliver a more efficient cost per lead and even more efficient cost per opportunity, or even capabilities to determine which things are driving opportunities, that pays for itself pretty easily. In fact, when we deployed at Convoy, our CPL on LinkedIn, because of the unique campaign architecture that metadata deploys, where it's essentially one audience per one creative per campaign, which isn't how you typically build campaigns natively, our cost per lead dropped 30%, just like that. I'm sure that's just gaming LinkedIn's marketplace and whatever, but no one from LinkedIn's going to listen to this. So the other, then expand.
Make sure.
Yeah, right. Expanding to Facebook dropped it 50%. And then over time, as we're making trade-offs in the platform and really figuring out which creatives and case studies for us at Convoy, then I started pulling screenshots of charts, and those ran really well. And we were getting down below $100 cost per lead for both. And things have changed a lot since then. It's been a couple of years. I think LinkedIn generally is more expensive per lead than it used to be, right? Because more people are advertising on it. But I have no other tool for figuring out how to navigate that market dynamics and saturation problem. And the other, Mark, just really quick, I want to call it as a complexity aspect. It is actually super simple to deploy. It didn't take much of a lift from marketing ops. And if you do something really simple with Marketo program, where a smart list detects the name of the lead gen form. And so we use demo GC for a gift card based campaign and demo only for when there's no gift card. And it gets picked up by Marketo, it gets into our systems, no problem. So you just set a simple architecture that you follow, and it's a really low lift to get going. And I think people don't see that when they're looking through how many features there are in metadata, and their operations teams are like, hold up, advertising platforms typically are a heavy lift, but that's not the case here.